This is an event of the World Poetry Movement in collaboration with the San Francisco Revolutionary Poets Brigade. The World Poetry Movement, WPM, was born a decade ago in Medellin, Colombia, when a group of poets from different countries and under the sensitive guiding hands of the poet Fernando Rendon and Gloria Quatal got together to do what? To change the world. We don't believe that a poem does nothing. In fact, many, if not all of us, believe at heart that everyone is a poet. And if such a thought was understood and then actualized, the children of the world wouldn't need a communist revolution because it already would have been realized. Of course, the WPM hasn't succeeded in such a name, though we've organized and helped others organize hundreds of poetry readings in this decade and published our online poetry planetariat anthology for all the world to read. Over this same decade, we've seen the rise of fascism globally, but the WPM has been fortunate to have Lisbon's Luis Felipe Sarmento, who's not only brought memory of the Red Carnation movement of Portugal that defeated fascism in the 70s, but who's inspired the WPM to organize Red Carnation poetry readings all over the world this April of 2021. Now, and we're going to begin the readings. I'm going to call poets to read. I ask you again to mute yourselves until your name is called, then unmute yourself. All right? We'll begin with Indran Amir Sanayagam, who is from originally Sri Lanka. He writes poetry in American. He's on the East Coast of America. He writes poetry also in Haitian Creole. He has a column of the cultural column of the Haiti Amaché. He writes also poems in Spanish and French. Indran, let's hear your work.
Thank you so much, Jack. An honor to be participating in an event, a reading for Revolución dos Cravos. And I'm going to read two short poems, one inspired by this event and another from inspired by Haiti. This one is called, in Espanol, Revolución en Primavera. La luz de primavera llega por la ventana, pero me quedo en la cama pensando en las pérdidas del invierno, de la pandemia. La luz de primavera me da cosquillas, me pinta y me despierta, pero una cerradura sigue puesta a esa sala donde guardo lo que he recolectado del pasado, aunque tiene olor de aire atrapado, de oxígeno a punto de echar fuego. No, mi vida, abriré la sala y me iré de esta cama donde durmió también mi papá. Voy a pintar la casa roja como el clavel que llevamos ayer a nuestra poesía para celebrar la revolución en aquel Portugal que echó afuera la dictadura y desató la independencia de diversos países, además en África, y me da ahora este poema, esta esperanza. And I'll finish with a short poem called The Avocado Season is Over. Tans avocate fini in the original Creole. The season of avocados is over. The most beautiful girl in town is about to marry a man across the water. My brother is busy with his manuscript. Time to share ideas in a book has gone to the country without a hat. Accept reality. Don't live anymore in fantasy. You are getting along in years, but have only spoken Creole for 2. You have a great long life ahead. Think, reflect, tell all the new families congratulations, good luck, then write again about your life in Haiti when the avocado was in bloom. Many thanks. Muchas gracias. Thank you, Jack.
Okay. All right, the next, thank you, Thank you, Indran. Next, we will hear from a Chinese poet who now lives in San Francisco. Chun Yu, please. Chun here?
Yes, I'm here. Yes.
There you go, Chun. Yes, let's hear.
Okay. Jack, do I read one or two poems? I have bilingual poems.
Are they long?
They're not too short. Yeah.
Oh,
Should I
well,
just
then read one. In
Okay.
both languages.
Okay. All right. The first, well, the one poem I'm going to read is called Cotton. It's when I was growing up in China and during the Cultural Revolution, I learned about the Black history. But the country was very isolated from the rest of the world. But the connection was actually formed then. So this poem is called Cotton. I'll read the Chinese first, as Jack always required. 棉花，我小的时候曾在大洋的另一边，一个冬日的教室里，得知你们在这片土地上的命运。我的国家正身处一场红色的革命，并与世隔绝。我能想到的只是黑色的小手采摘着白色的棉花。我听到奴隶制这个古老而遥远的词汇，在我脚趾冻僵的端坐着的土地上被重新谴责和批判。我因愤慨和对正义的渴望而震颤，那是善，一个孩子心里的纯良。无论革命、红色、黑色或其他，我从未见过其他颜色的孩子。我所能想到的是黑色的小脸，笑着，像夏日收获时温暖盛开着的棉花朵儿。我所能想到的是黑色的小手送出温暖的棉花，黑色的小手从妈妈和外婆黑色的手里被掠走。黑色的小手永远消失在茫茫世间。黑色的小手永远无所适从地伸着，黑色的小手永远擦着像我想念妈妈的时候那样又清又咸的眼泪。在一盏古老油灯下，我依偎在外婆的身旁，我的手因为主义，她的手因为主义和革命采摘棉花而粗糙。为了主义和革命，我们必须付出爱和一切。夜复一夜的，他用分配到的几捧棉花，和从时间和记忆时开始时就不断旋转的纺锤，纺出一根长长的棉线。Sorry， 纳着鞋底，铺垫着鞋面，为我的双足保暖。黑色的小手，你的棉花在哪里？你的线在哪里？你的妈妈和外婆在哪里？我从未见过其他颜色的孩子。小时候听到你们的历史，我能感觉到的是，你泪水的海洋涌入了黄海，拍打着百里之外的海岸。Cotton. All I could think of was little black hands picking, and picking snow white cotton. When I was a child, learning about your people's fate on the other side of the ocean in a winter classroom with no heating, my country, red and deep in revolution, isolated from the world. I heard slavery, a term ancient and distant, re-denounced in the land where I sat with frozen toes, trembling with indignation and a yearning for justice, the original Shan, the pure goodness at the heart of a child, revolution or not, red, black, or other. I had never met a child of another color. All I could think of was little black faces smiling like blooming cotton flowers, bursting warmth in a summer harvest. All I could think of was little black hands giving warm white cotton away. Little black hands snatched away from hands of mama and the grandma. Little black hands forever lost in the vast world, forever reaching at a loss, forever wiping tears, clear and salty, just like my own when I missed my mama. As I snuggled next to my grandmother under an ancient oil lamp, her hands roughened from cotton picking for the ism and the revolution, which we must all love and give everything to. Stitching and cushioning shoes night after night with the few handfuls of cotton rationed to her and a long thread she spun with a wooden spindle, spinning since the beginning of time and memory to keep my feet warm. Little black hands, where was your cotton? Where was your thread? Where were your mama and a grandma? I had never met a child of another color. When I learned your history as a child, all I could feel was your ocean of tears flooding into the yellow sea, rushing the shore 100 miles away. Well, thank you. I just want to also take a minute to introduce this program called Two Languages, One Community that I co-founded with poet Michael Wall to connect Asian American and African American communities together in poetry, writing, and storytelling. And Michael couldn't be here today, but I will put our website in the chat. Thank you all. It's so great to meet you all and be with you here.
Thank you, Chun.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we're going to hear from Manat Batiyan. She is originally from Isfahan in Iran, and she is a member of the Revolutionary Poets Brigade and the editor of Plague, a beautiful anthology of poetry about the pandemic that we're all in. So welcome, Manat Batiyan.
Thank you very much, Jack, and thank you all. What I'm going to read a poem about exactly called Story of Fascist. And I don't know if you guys are listening to the news, world news, Iran is in a chaos these days. They kill lots of people, they imprison many poets and thinkers, they're stealing money, they're just doing whatever they want. True, complete fascist in Iran. So I will read part of the Farsi version, not to take too much of your time. It's not very long poem. در زمانه‌ای زیستیم که بی شباهت به قرنها پیش نبود و مردم خرافاتی تصویر پیر لکاته‌ای را در ماه می‌دیدند و در امریکا مرد الدنگی مسیحی دوباره شد. روزگاری که برای عده خوردن نان طلا میسر شد و میلیون ها انسان دیگر محتاج نان شب شدند. در روزگاری که فاشیست های دینی با مغزهای پوسیده مغز جوانان نابغه را دست دست می‌خوردند و و آنها را به چوبه دار می سپردند. I'm going to stop here the Farsi version so I can explain something. What I'm saying is that when Khomeini came to power, fanatic people actually, they swear that they saw his picture in the moon at night. When at night they were looking at the moon, they said, oh, we definitely saw Khomeini's picture in the moon. So when I'm referring, I want to tell you guys with it. And also they are killing lots of people. There are lots of honor killing. Recently, a father beheaded her 14 years old daughter because she was in love. So all the things that I'm referencing, they're true, but it's in poem. I dedicated this poem to uprising of Iranian people in 2018, which Iranian fascist government killed 1,500 of them according to their statistic, although many people believe it was at least 4,000 people. So we lived in a time that wasn't dissimilar to centuries ago. And fanatic people saw the image of an old sinister on the moon. And in America, the hobo man became a reborn Messiah. A strange time when not only they robbed people's freedom and right, but they sold their organs and beheaded women for crime of love and killed black people daily. We live in a time that is possible for some people to eat bread made of gold. And millions of people are in need for a loaf of bread for their hungry children. In a time that religious fanatics and fascists with decayed brains eat brain of genius people and put them in the gallows. In the 21st century, still the fascist dominates and the thinkers depend on bread. Fascists have the authority to kill and own people's property, water, tree, moon, and sun. Fascists sell heart, kidney, and land and sell the destiny of human beings. And they claim to be God. And we are astounded people. We have silenced and astonished. We are in a bitter shock. And we see the owls on rooftops imitate nightingales and canaries. And their swallows are prostitutes looking for a neck of outspoken, unhappy people for the gallows of fascists. Brave men and women, not in black holes, no on black holes and vagrant around the world. Fascists are lightning strikes that land quickly and kill quickly, and they quickly roll in their own blood. And what is left in a dark history of their brutality and the high effort of the world's fighting people to collect the bodies of so many thunderbolts. We will uprise. You're welcome. Thank you.
Bravo.
Thank you. Thank you very much for listening.
Bravo.
Thank you.
Next, we will hear from Stephen Watts from London, England. Stephen, are you here? Let me see. Stephen.
I am here, Jack.
Okay, let's see it, Steve.
You caught me unawares because I thought you were going alphabetically. I will read
from the
one
back.
poem.
I'm
I
going
will
from
read
the front to the back.
Very good, very good. I will read one poem.
Yes.
I've changed my mind many times about what to read. I'm going to read a poem that's about Frida Kahlo. And it has a title from her letter, But Now I Live on a Sorrowful Planet. For which we might almost say, but now I live on a almost fascist planet. I should have worked as a porter in a remote hotel or at the night desk of a dour metropolitan hospital. I should have driven lorries before dawn down the arteries of a weeping city. I should have handled tube trains into stations like squealing pigs. I should have worked in a laundry or navied it as the foreman of a brickage troop. I should have been a laughter clown or trapezed my life up your wide sistering streets. Ah, but for now I just live on a sorrowful planet. I should have got up before dawn and gone to the mosque to the women's entrance, being a woman. I should have ported in hospitals or given singing lessons in oncology. I should have run backwards up moorland meadows or gone raving over the Blackberry Hill. I should have closed my eyes in the face of oncoming tides, in the face of the patinas of no. I should have tautened my nerves on the rage of exhausted ligaments. I should have belly danced under genomes or taken the cholesterol count of stem cells. I should have looked at myself in the eyes of a monkey, in the eyes of a dog. I should have tied yellow ribbons on walnut branches. I should have let myself collapse in the apricot valleys of the higher Sierras. Ah, but I did none of these things. I painted the sun as source of all energies, a rampant goddess as swirl of life, the dog of our dreams, the snake of our breath. Thank you, Jack.
Bravo, bravo. Bravo, Steve. Next, we will hear from Lisbeth Bailey, who is the co-host of this event with John Curl, a member of the Revolutionary Poets Brigade and the League of Revolutionaries for New America. Elizabeth?
Hi, everyone. Happy to be here. This poem is about the Red Carnation Revolution. And I loved researching it and writing it, and I'm going to share it with you. Flowers of Zeus. These aren't flowers for bows, buttonnieres, mothers' bouquets, doctors' altruism, or for presidential luck. These flowers of Zeus rise from roots alive underground. They are never dormant. Workers' hands and faces reddened by their labor as they scrape and scratch a living from under capitalism's thumb. Red expressions of pain before crimson rises, or like unearthed passion compelling us to live lovingly. Carnation is a word of honor, standing for blood embodied, for remembering and celebrating the people's sacrifices. The people of Portugal toppled their capitalist city, ended the dictatorship by peaceful reincarnation. The red carnation is the joy of the Portuguese people, who are the midwives of their democracy, a community tested and now evolved. On April 25th, let's emulate the wakened power of the Portuguese people as we raise red carnations everywhere. Thank you.
Bravo, bravo. Bravo. All right, next we will hear from David Volpindesta, who is a member of the Revolutionary Poets Brigade, and also he's preparing another book, is really on the docket. David Volpindesta.
I'm sorry, I had written you earlier. He is just not able to
Oh,
join.
okay, all right. Then
Very
let's-
sorry, and he
No,
sends.
not at all.
Yeah.
Let me call up Vadim Cherekin, who's from Russian Federation. Now, Vadim is also a member of the World Poetry Movement, and that's centered in Medellin, Colombia. And Vadim will read now. Vadim?
Hello, dear friends. I want to send greeting from Russia, right? In Russia, night in Russia. I recite one little poem. I recite in two languages, first Russian, second English. Excuse me for my language, but I am апокалипсис, несущий страшную заразу. Опа.
Yeah. We heard you. Yes.
Sorry. Апокалипсис, несущий страшную заразу, подобен вычерному сглазу. Я на просторах бытия для всех надолго стану главным, незримым, властным, своенравным. Да и не главным, тоже я. Без цвета, запуха, летучий, я вездесущий и могучий. И у меня хватило сил, когда при мировой огласке на праздник праздников, на Пасху, я даже Бога отменил. Всему имея сопричастность, несу я сразу в жизни ясность, что человеку человек не друг и брат, а только частность, прямая горечь и опасность, как некто снизу нам предрек. Меня повсюду будет много, я властью данной не от Бога, за земное племя обвиню во всех грехах, знаю в участке, и с помощью обычной маски я этот мир разъединю. Just a moment. Apocalypse. Carrying a terrible infection like a pretentious evil eye. I am in the waters of being. I will be the main on before everyone for a long time. Invisible, domineering, wayward, and I am not the main on ever. Colorized, odorless, volatile. I am omnipresent and powerful, and I was strong enough when with worldwide publicity. On the holiday on Easter, I even considered God. All having a sense of ownership, I will immediately bring clarity to life. What is person a person? Not friend and brother, but only particular one. Direct bitterness and danger, as someone from below predict to us. There will be a lot of might everywhere. I am power not given from God. I will eschew the S tribe in all sins rotting in the present, and using a normal mask, I will divide this world. Thank you very much.
Bravo, Vadim. Next, we will hear from Paris, France. Alexis Bernot will be reading now. Alexis, welcome. Oh, let's see. Alexis here? Alexis?
I
No,
don't think she's here, Jack.
no, it's a he. Alexis is a he.
I'm sorry.
He's not here. Oh, I was certainly would be on. Oh, okay. Okay. Let me call. Let me call then if you will, I will call the man who is in a way responsible for today. What I mean is from Portugal, Luis Felipe Sarmento, and he will read the Portuguese of his poem, and then Vamberto Freitas will read the translation that was done by Scott Anderson, who's not here today. Okay, so Luis Felipe.
Thank you, Jack. Thank you very much for this invitation. I'm very happy. And I read, first I read in Portuguese and then Vamberto read in English. Thank you. Refugia-te na tua consciência, sem cruzes nem crescentes, sem arames nem muros, sem farpas nem ódios. E logo reconhecerás entre as multidões de andarilhos que perpassam a tua memória os teus ascendentes vindos de longe que te fizeram nascer aqui. De onde vens? A que caverna original pertences? Que línguas navegam nos mares e nos rios do teu sangue? Quantos deuses adoraste, pedindo e esperando que o futuro não fosse este presente? Onde estão as divinas respostas? Refugia-te na tua consciência, sem o medo que os sacerdotes do poder oculto te querem impor, nem a angústia do sonho destruído. Observa a renovação do mar, a regeneração do planeta, a cada ataque inconsciente dos loucos, e logo verás o poder das entranhas deste grandioso globo, como se fosse uma cabeça que pensa que a possibilidade da derrota é a impossibilidade da vida e faz renascer. Em todo o esplendor, o mapa colorido do que na realidade somos. Refugia-te na tua consciência como anfitrião do futuro e não temas os deuses. Eles que são divinos, que se entendam longe desta terra, e abre as portas do teu humilde casebre como se fosse um palácio contra a morte e contra a babélica imagem do fim. Thank you.
Go on, Vamberto.
And now Vamberto.
Yes, this is the translation of Scott Edward Anderson from New York. Take refuge. Take refuge in your conscience, without crosses or crescents, without wires or walls, without barbs or hatreds, and you will soon recognize among the crowds of wanderers that permeate your memory your ancestors from afar who gave birth to you here. Where do you come from? To which original cave do you belong? What languages sail the seas and the rivers of your blood? How many gods did you worship, asking and hoping that the future would not be this present? Where are the divine answers? Take refuge in your conscience, without the fear that priests of hidden power want to impose on you, nor the anguish of the destroyed dream. Observe the renewal of the sea, the regeneration of the planet, every unconscious attack of the madman, and you will soon see the power of the bowels of this magnificent globe, as if it were a head that thinks the possibility of defeat is the impossibility of life and makes it reborn in all its splendor. the colorful map of what we really are. Take refuge in your conscience as host of the future, and do not fear the gods who are divine and who understand each other far from this earth, and open the doors of your humble hovel as if it were a palace against death and against the chaotic image of the end. Luis Felipe Sarmento.
Bravo, bravo. Bravo, bravo.
Thank you.
Thank you, Humberto and Luis.
Pleasure, Jack.
Now we will hear from the Haitian poet, Boediba. She was a organizer of and I must say I was with her in this, the Jacques Roumain Cultural Brigade, which still continues. We translated much Haitian poetry. Boediba, welcome.
Côté la vie nou ye, papa pot petit la, l'alvan ka bon ki la, koubek ki poil ka bouché. Côté la vie nou ye, mes amis, papa pot petit la, l'alvan ka bon ki la, koubek ki poil la batwa, pa on fait n'importe li pote kodo. Joseph nan Jérémie, c'est pour pote kodo. Je n'ai pas normal, c'est dans Guinée yo bali pour sauver péché yo, gangan pa diabo. This is a contemporary sacred song of Haitian Vodou, written by the Vodou priest Wawa, who took flight last year and left us with a body of work abundant, beautiful, and unique. You can find his recordings on YouTube with the full choir of initiates from his temple in New York, and accompanied by our late, great traditional drummer, Azor, on the Petro rhythm, which is one of the rhythms associated with the Haitian War for Independence. This is a haut chant for Wawa. High praise to this generous person who gave me permission to read, to translate, to perform any of his song anywhere, in any order, anytime. I remember him today. Here is my American translation of his song. Where has our life been? Father takes the child, he brings to Mokiraz, like a beast to the butchers. Oh, where has our life gone, oh my friends? Father takes the child to sell at Bonkiraz, like a beast to the slaughter. Baron shuts the door, says, bring the ropes, oh. Joseph's in hot water. Everyone bring ropes. So Gisnes does no evil. They gave him guinea to heal the sinners. Voodoo priests ain't spirits. Oh, yes, it's a terrible, terrible thing when fathers are compelled to sell some of their children in order to save others. As we say in Creole, it's a poisonous situation. It's poison. C'est poison. Poison. Son piquant. Non ne code kap mare betou. C'est poison. Poison. Non poussièque sorti en bazelon pour le mourir ou chuter sous papote. C'est poison. Poison. Un avion a flité pour détruire l'école. C'est poison. Poison, ciment, juste dans vent nuage pour placer cyclone avec sécheresse. C'est poison. Poison, non goutte de l'eau, cap tremblé sous pointe, on seringue, piqué dans le bras, on drogué. C'est poison. Poison, mêlé à toi gratter pour frotter peau, jusqu'à gâter sang. Mauvais wanga, qui pas rien d'autre Parce qu'on la guerre biochimique, on la guerre coup de poudre. Poison on a thorn in the knot of the rope that ties your goat. It's poison. Poison in the dust from the feathers of a dead chicken you kick off your doorstep. It's poison. Poison airborne from an airplane that kills your crops. It's poison. Seeded in the belly of clouds to place hurricanes and droughts. It's poison. In a drop of clear liquid hanging from the tip of a needle jabbed into a junkie's arm. It's poison. Poison mixed with poison oak, scratched into your skin till it ruins your blood. Second-rate magic, nothing more than chemical war. Papa pot pitit la, alvon ka bon ki la, koubet ki po l'abattoir. Father takes the child to sell at Bonquilas like a beast to the butchers. Yes, it's a terrible thing when the fathers of a nation are compelled to sell their children in exchange for power or handfuls of cash. It's a terrible, terrible thing. Baron shuts the door, says, bring the ropes. Oh, Joseph's in hot water. Everyone bring ropes. Oh, Chisnell does no evil. They gave him guinea to heal the sinners. Voodoo priests ain't spirits. Oh, priests ain't spirits. Oh, popes ain't spirits. Oh, pastors ain't spirits. Oh, presidents ain't spirit. Oh, congressmen ain't spirit. Oh, lobbyists ain't spirit. Oh.
Bravo, bravo. Bravo, Bodiba. Bravo. Next, we will hear from the Italian poet is listed as Giovanni Bertoni here, but that's his lady's name. It's Sandro Sardello, whom many know here in San Francisco. He was here some years ago at an exhibition. In fact, his work is exhibited, I think, now at a gallery. And Lapo Guzzini is his translator. Sandro will read his poem in Italian, and Lapo will read its marvelous translation as well. Okay? Go ahead, Sandro.
Well, thank you for the invitation. Here is night in Italy, but I'm happy to see all the poets. My poem is Discanto di Garofani Rossi, a Sante Notar Nicola e Paul Polanski. It is dedicated to Sante Notar Nicola, who is a robber, a communist, a poet, who fight for more human dimension in Italian prison. And also dedicated to Paul Polanski, an American poet from Iowa, who with journalistic inquiry and his poetry told the condition of gypsies in Europe and homeless in the USA. 1. Caro Sante, caro Paul, ve ne siete andati quando la fioritura del ciliegio selvatico è esplosa, quando i merli novelli stanno imparando a volare, quando me ne stavo a preparare il terreno per le cipolle e le patate. Caro Sante, il tuo sguardo deciso e mite, caro Paul, il tuo sguardo morbido e indagatore, ragazzi di vita Voi avete messo in movimento l'autonomia e la libertà delle vittime. Voi maestri di ideali, di scelta, di parte, di dignità, mi avete irrobustito. Le vostre parole, oltre i divieti e le censure, con stile povero e sontuoso, hanno sconfinato muri e filo spinato. Hanno lottato contro l'indifferenza e contro il razzismo. La vostra scrittura ha alimentato la mia, ha creato una viva rete di dissenso, di opposizione al marciume imperante, nel silenzio dei violini, nell'evasione impossibile. 2. Dopo Marx, aprile. La strada delle vostre parole non tace, nutre il cuore. Garofani rossi abbracciati nel soffio piovoso, nel tempo della sconfitta, baciano la terra. Nella vergogna della sera occidentale riemergono non cancellate tracce di arrogante fascismo. La macchia di sangue nel cerchio di gesso sul muro è viva. Nell'aprile del 45 italiano, nell'aprile del 75 portoghese, nella caduta delle dittature. Garofani rossi sul petto, tra i capelli e nella canna del fucile, nell'aprile che travolse il gelo, il grigiore, l'ipocrisia, l'ingiustizia di classe. Garofani rossi nel pandemico tempo, tra le macerie, la rabbia e la speranza. Garofani rossi nello sbarrimento non spengono, sfidano il silenzio dei corpi. Garofani rossi abitano il vento, con fertili provocazioni appassionatamente. Thank you.
Bravo, bravo. Lapo.
Red Carnations Descant. For Santino Tarnicola and Paul Polanski. 1. Dear Sante, dear Paul, you both split when the blossoming wild cherry exploded, when the new blackbirds were learning to fly, when I was busy laying the groundwork for onions and potatoes. Dear Sante, your gaze resolute and meek. Dear Paul, your gaze questioning and soft. You, the ragazzi, you set in motion the autonomy and liberty of the victims. You, masters of ideals, of choices, of taking sides, of dignity. You toughen me up. Your words, beyond suppression and prohibition, in humble and sumptuous style, have trespassed the walls and barbed wire. They struggled against indifference and against racism. Your writing fed mine and created a living network of dissent, of opposition to the ruling rot, in deciding the impossible escape. 2. After Mark's April, the road of your words won't be silenced. It feeds the heart, clasping red carnations in the rainy murmur. In the time of defeat, they kiss the earth against the shame of a Western evening and re-emerging unerased traces of smug fascism. The blood stain in the chalk circle on the wall is alive in the Italian April of 45, in the Portuguese April of 75, in the downfall of dictatorships, red carnations upon the chest, in the hair, and in the barrel of a gun, in the April that swept away the frost, the grayness, the hypocrisy, the class injustice. Red carnations in pandemic time, between the rubble, the rage, and hope, red carnations in bewilderment do not extinguish, they defy the silence of bodies. Red carnations inhabit the wind with fertile provocations passionately. Thank you.
Bravo.
Grazie.
Bravo.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bravo Lapo. Bravo Sandro. Next, we will hear from Jami Proctor Shu. Jami.
Hello. Thank you so much for inviting me, and it's good to see everybody here. I'll read, Jack, did you want me to read one by a Chinese poet also, or just one of mine?
One of yours, and if you feel like reading a Chinese poet, yes.
Okay, I'll read a short one by the Chinese poet Song Lin from the collection of his that I translated, Sunday Sparrows. It's a poem that he wrote in 1989 when he was a political prisoner. Chrysanthemums on the sea. Sprinkle the seeds sprouted in the mirror onto the sea. Put the sword away. The sword is emanating heat in the seawater. The chrysanthemums are in bloom. The books have fallen off the shelves. 3 nightingales simultaneously fly out from the mirror. What is this that feels so frightened and shaken? Who is it on the leaking rubber boat, so frightened and shaken? My throat catches a sword falling from the sky. I transverse the sky, enter the world, then sink back down, sleepwalking among mountains of immortals and the bright moon above the sea. 海上的菊，把茎中发芽的种子撒在海上，把剑收起来，剑在海水里冒着热气，菊花烂漫，满架的书倾倒，一面镜子同时飞出3只夜莺，是什么东西？惊魂未定。谁在一只漏气的橡皮艇上？惊魂未定。我的喉咙借助空中落下的一把剑，我横空出世，复又下沉，梦游于海上的仙山和明月。So that was the poem by the poet Song Lin. And then I'm going to read a poem of mine that I wrote last year because it's still relevant. We're still experiencing the effects of Trump's fascist and harmful language and of systematic racism and violence in the US. And I had written this after watching a clip of a rally that he did where he's repeating his racist rhetoric about China and coronavirus, which is causing a lot of violence and against Asian Americans right now every day. Rally. At a Trump rally in Phoenix, 3,000 mostly young people gather in the Dream City megachurch while wildfires burn thousands of acres of desert in the same state. And the number of COVID cases is exploding each day as protesters march against racism, against lives lost to state violence, police violence. As the border wall cutting a country off from its own sense of decency and humanity towers and trespasses on sacred indigenous land. Trump spews the vitriol of names he's repeated for the virus decimating so much of mankind across borders, languages, cultures. He stands without a mask, says there are plenty of names for the virus, Wuhan, China, Kung Flu, China, China, he repeats as the audience cheers the continuation of hundreds of years of state-sanctioned violence in language, exclusion acts, massacres, genocide. As he stands inside and rallies the crowd, outside the anger of hundreds of years is rising up. Statues are being toppled, place names changed, and all of us bearing witness are present, fighting for life even as so-called leaders continue to work for fear and dying.
Bravo, bravo. Bravo. Thank you, Jami. Now we're going to hear from Sonny San Juan, Epifanio San Juan Jr. Is a wonderful poet, a great critic, and one of the great Marxists inside the university world. Now he's heading the Philippine Studies Group in Washington, D.C. Epifanio, Sonny, come on in. I saw Sonny. No?
What name should I look under, Jack?
Sonny San Juan Jr. But I saw it up here earlier. It was Epifanio, which is his really first name, but everyone knows him as Sonny San Juan. But I guess he's not. Where he's Canoff. I hope nothing's happening.
Well, if he arrives,
yeah,
I'll let you know.
Let me know. And the same thing with Victoria Brill if she arrives. I know she's moved away from here and she lives in New York now, I believe. All right, let me then continue with, is Greg Pond here? Or he said he might be working come late. Dottie Payne. Dottie Payne is just returned from, she's been in Africa teaching and then Mexico, and now she's in St. Louis and she's back in San Francisco. She's a member of the Revolutionary Poets Brigade. Dottie Payne.
Thank you, Jack. I'm so happy to be here, and thank you, everyone, poets in the world. I hate Zoom, but this is wonderful. This is one of the things that Zoom can do that really inspires me. I am coming today from St. Louis, a city on the Grand Mississippi River, but it is also the home of the great Keokuk tribe. Cahokia Mounds are within 50 miles of here. The great Cherokee people migrated up here from Oklahoma after the Trail of Tears, and the great Pontusic tribe, where my son lived on their land for many years until his death, is here. This is St. Louis' ex-slave state, but it is also the home of the awful Dred Scott decision. It is the home of great abolitionist Elijah Lovejoy, who was killed by fascist racists. It is also a stop-off on the Underground Railroad. And most recently, we are proud to say we are the home of the great young women who created the Black Lives Matter movement. So I am in the belly of the monster, so to speak, but I am also in the heart of the great anti-racist struggle in the United States that goes all the way back to the enslavement of people. I would like to open with a poem that is not mine. It is an anonymous poem. I cannot find a source for it, so if any of you do and you can let me know, I'd appreciate it. It is titled, If Truth Had a Tongue. All of your armies, all of your fighters, all of your tanks, and all of your soldiers against a boy holding a stone, standing there all alone. In his eyes, I see the sun. In his smile, I see the moon. And I only wonder, who is weak and who is strong? Who is right and who is wrong? And I only wish that the truth had a tongue. An anonymous poem from a child from Gaza, which is under enormous siege as we speak, as you know. My poem, There Is No Forgetting. You ask me why I care, why I risk all that I am, have been, and I'll tell you, Things keep happening. Pablo Neruda. Things keep happening. I have seen the walls that darkened the Negev, that blinded the world to little Muhammad al-Dari. There is no escaping borders, they get higher and wider, darkening the landscapes of death. I have heard the screams in the night, tasted the sulfur morning air after their kill. Yes, I have been there. And I've watched as they wrestled men to the ground here, like sacrificial sheep, made us see it over and over and over again on TV, made us complicit there and here, made us witness these lynchings, revealed the horrors to come, and they have, one by one by one, boys, young boys, grown men slaughtered in our streets, our heads hooded along with theirs. These lynchings kept us busy scrambling to stay safe ourselves, desperate to figure out how to survive yet another horror, desperate to breathe. What to do with all this death? This is the question that presses now. We hold our breath, but the looping truth returns again and again in 10th dimension clarity. There is no past, no over there. It lives here, everywhere, where the slaughterers of greed beat the calf who just wants to go with them, murders the man who just wants to breathe, strangles the woman who dared to speak, diminishes the man whose land he stands upon, slaughters the boy with his hands in the air. There is no forgetting this. No forgetting the terror closing in on us. No forgiving the green in the pockets of those who choose not to see. No forgiving the fondling under our sheets. No ignoring the stain on our own hands. Do not put our bodies on the ground to stop all of this. No wallowing in the sorrow of our perfect knowledge of all this. No forgetting the dollars for drones with our morning toast. Here in the sterile wombs of the young, the ripped organs of those too soon set, there will be no dialing for dollars on our daughter's chest. No, there will be no forgetting this. Things keep happening in this deepening darkness. The dead keep dying, their flags keep flying as bankers burn the midnight oil, stockpiling stolen goods as the children keep starving. The children keep starving, and they keep silencing the poets, but there will be no forgetting this. Thank you.
Bravo, bravo. Bravo, bravo. Could I just ask, only because some of the sound was staccato, could I ask everyone to please mute yourselves until you are called, okay? I'd appreciate it. Thank you. Next, we're going to hear another member of the Revolutionary Poets Brigade, Christina Brown. Christina?
Hi, I'd like to begin by thanking Jack for making this possible and thanking you all for being here. The piece I'm going to read is for a great African-American poet, a gentle warrior who understood the power of nonviolent resistance. QR, Celebration Elegy, written for a celebration of the life of QR Hand. QR Hand, he's gone now. wild and dignified. He was so great, so strong, so deeply sweet. Always unrolling new rhythms, making the sun shine brighter, the sky look bluer. Oh, how I adored him. Everyone did. He made it easy, always ready with a kind word or the right word. Whatever your piece or your song, whatever you needed. Always generous, always kind, always full of sympathy and empathy, charity and clarity. So big-hearted, filled with love and joy, pouring out the words, laying them on, lifting us up. He was free jazz. He was unexpected, sizzling psychedelia. Most of you probably knew him too, even if he wasn't as famous as he deserved to be. Confident, but easy, loving and kind. Have I said that before? Not merely superficially nice, but deeply humane, forgiving the bad, celebrating the good. He was a mighty soul, not bent, not crushed by cruelty, injustice, and prejudice. Working to make life better for everyone, he gave the gifts of respect and love. I wasn't alone in my admiration. Almost everyone who knew him loved him. When I wrote this, I thought, if he ever did anything wrong, I'll hear about it now. But I haven't. No one said a bad word about him. He was the sun rising, the espresso steaming, the tree blossoming. Taken away by capitalism to Vallejo, then taken away altogether. Joyful, free, always in the rhythm, on or off the beat, refusing to be circumscribed, to be less than amazing. Always so far out there, always so close to the heart, to the bone. QR, bubbling, riffing, yelping with joy, leaping to another plane of existence, carrying us with him. QR, so wise and generous and ecstatic, but sad sometimes too, missing old friends who had gone before. Now, QR is gone too. Oh, how we loved you, how you loved us.
Right.
Thank you.
Bravo, bravo. Next, we'll hear from another member of the Revolutionary Poets Brigade, who really serves us mainly as a translator, Barbara Paschke. Barbara?
Actually, I wasn't sure where I was going to read, but I do have something that, hold on. This is a translation, but I don't have my hands on the Spanish right now, so I will just read the English if that's okay.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, this is an excerpt from Mi Guerrilla by Carmen Naranjo. The guerrilla has profiles of crowded plazas where there's always room for more, to say in chorus, today is a good day and tomorrow will be better. The prisons will be empty. We will not be strangers on the earth. We will love and not fear, be loved and not be feared. Exploitation will be a word in the dictionary with the exiles of practice and system. A natural equilibrium settles in the corners of song and sings the peace of an insatiable guerrilla in search of the good, the pure, the just, the human, the noble, the gratifying, a never-ending guerrilla because it's action and not being, because it's water and it flows, because it's fervor and not belief, because it's prayer and not idolatry, because it's word and it's silence, because it's faith and it seeks, because it's urn and balsam spilling over in the forever of the forefront.
Bravo. Next, another member, and he's also the co-host today of the Revolutionary Poets Brigade. And he's the author of many books, including a marvelous book about communities throughout the world, and also volumes of poetry. Welcome, John Curl. John.
Thank you, Jack. A tree stands by a crossroads. Here in the city, every street is a crossroads. But out where houses are few, the crossroads is a place of power, where the desperate go to pray, where on moonless nights, spells are cast, lovers are stolen, people die suddenly for unknown causes. Just yesterday, that crossroads was a hub of endless migrants, millions on the move around the world, fleeing poverty and violence, people whose families had lived sustainably for generations, but whose beloved homelands have been made barely livable by what we pathetically call civilization. All are now just folks looking for shelter, for a home. An ancient tree stands at one corner of the crossroads, observing, watching. It's not our fault, and yet it is. We destabilize the world. The sign of the times is danger. Forces unleashed that none can now control. The powerful and their minions stuff as much as they can grab into their bank balances and try to escape, thinking themselves safe behind thickest walls. But there's no place to hide in a broken mirror. And now this sudden cataclysm has shut all borders, and the crossroads is even more perilous than before. Uncounted millions stranded far from home, without work or income, easy prey for predators, human and viral. Meanwhile, their families back home surrender to despair, bleeding shattered hopes and dreams. The ancient tree beside the crossroads watches them. Ragged women and girls, aged and ageless, boys, men, their shoes fall apart at the seams. Even the infants look exhausted. Shuddering families pause beneath me, laying down their burdens for a brief while, then rise wearily, stagger to the crossroads center, the core of power, the very point of convergence where, no matter how exhausted, they always pause and gaze in each direction. Prayers whispered through trembling lips. A tear rolls down a cheek, but most are beyond tears. Time is short and death lurks everywhere. They look longingly toward the burnt out paradise that once was home, take a quick glance over their shoulder, then sigh and carry on. And when they're gone, Others take their place, and endless others after them. I stand here as witness on every moonless night when it is too dangerous to walk, and even the night birds and crickets are silent. An aura rises and encircles the crossroads. Only a few can see it. Only a few know it's there. It is always gone by first light, dissipated in the morning mist. Nothing remains but a shadow, a circle of protection for all travelers, all migrants, all refugees, all strangers who dare to step trembling into the point of convergence and pass through.
Bravo, bravo,
Thank you.
bravo, bravo. Bravo, John. Next, another member of the Revolutionary Poets Brigade and also the League of Revolutionaries for New America. And
Jack, you're muted.
You still are.
Yeah. Unmute.
Jack.
yeah.
There you go.
Let me just say this. Thank you, John. And now a member of the Revolutionary Poets Brigade and League of Revolutionaries for New America. And a recent book, Cement, was published by Swimming with Elephants Press. Sarah Menefee.
Thank you. Strike your mute, do we? Thank you. It's really a great honor to be part of this beautiful gathering of voices and visionaries. Without vision, the people perish, so we will not. So I'm going to read this short poem. Some of you, a few of you may have heard it, but anyway, let me get this up on the screen. This is called Cake. When people got tired of shivering in the raw spring, they moved into the warmth of the cake we were promised, and so it began. Little loaf cakes with butter icing. He had 3 stacked against his ragged chest, wending through the line, appealing madly to the blank-eyed shoppers that one might purchase them for him. I'm hard of hearing, said a hard-eyed older man to the hungry guy. Here in the Trader Joe's at Market and Fourth. They appropriated the cakes and escorted him out. Do not let them eat cake they can't pay for. I had written the part above about entering the cake the day before I witnessed that. That. Thank you.
Bravo, Sarah. Okay. Next, we'll also hear from another member of the Revolutionary Poets Brigade and the World Poetry Movement, a poet and painter as well, Agneta Valk.
Thank you. And viva for everyone being here today to celebrate the liberation of fascism in Portugal all those years ago. Unfortunately, we can't celebrate the liberation of the growing fascism in the world, but it's great. We are making a little stab at it. I'm going to read a poem that I wrote some years ago in France, and it's in a particular incident that happened in Gaza, but really this happens all the time. It's called Oh Hate. To be in the moment, a gray slab of a sky over Italian poplars along the River Rhone, and thinking about the Palestinian boy shot to death, the Israeli soldiers torn to shreds, who tears make tears, who wins loses, who loses wins willfully, without a thought, who lays his body down to die with the name of God on his lips. Here, silk is made soft, the flowing length of it, enough to make a mummy out of yourself. But in among these thoughts, the smell of a blood-stained rag gets stuffed down the throat of a pitiless bull, choking on his own blood. The long tongue of autumn curls to a silence. Overhead, a black bird stabs its wings deep in the heart. Who do you love most with your eyes closed? Who do you trust most with your eyes closed? These thoughts kill me also. And here comes Mother Death again, flashing her teeth. Oh, hate, how I hate you. But you are so easy to love, so loyal in your blindness. Hold me in your thorny arms and spike me till it hurts so hard, I want to let go of you forever. And stop boys throwing stones older than themselves at men who should know better than shoot at people smaller and younger than themselves. Stop them becoming fodder for the big boys who play Monopoly with people's lives in marbled halls, whose faces they never see, whose hands they never shake. The moment of truth then, the one you live for, the one you die for.
Bravo, bravo. Bravo, Aggie. Next, we will hear from the poet emeritus, poet laureate of the city of San Francisco, and a marvelous poet whose works are published by City Lights Books, Devora Major. Devora?
Hello, everybody, and thank you. It takes a movement. And this is an epigraph by Audre Lorde. Even the smallest victory is never to be taken for granted. Each victory must be applauded because it is so easy not to battle at all, to just accept and call that acceptance inevitable. Audre Lorde. We know of storms and barricades, and we know of changing tides. We have been wave after wave after wave, surging together, reshaping the land, human on our fragilities, human in our strength. We have stood still, slipped backwards, pushed forward, are pushing still because there is further to go. There was a time when it was harder to stand, but we stood. Harder to step forward, but we strode. Harder to speak out, but we sang together. It took a movement then, it takes a movement now. History is nothing but moments strung together, moments of passion and moments of pain, moments of hunger and moments of feast, moments of forbearance and of rage. But somehow when we climb into those moments together, we expand the reasons for celebration. Together, we reduce the amount of toil, of injustice, of fear. We are at a crossroads once again. Our time once again to smooth the road we walk upon, to stand up, to step forward, to speak out. We are never the beginning. We are never the end, but we are always at the front. We who know of dirty fingernails and hard work, who tend the births and deaths, who teach and guard, guide and attend, plant and reap, clean and cook, paint and sculpt, investigate and report, and care for more than each other and our charges. We are a movement, moving past indecision, moving past fear, past resignation, past tired, past disgusted, past overwhelmed and disillusioned. We are a movement remembering our victories, however large, however small, and carrying them into tomorrow while moving from the impossible to the possible. Thank you.
Bravo, bravo. Next, we'll hear from a wonderful artist, musician, poet, and a fantastic creative voice, Mauro Fortissimo. Mauro?
Unmute, Mauro. You're muted.
There. Am I mute? I think so.
There you go.
Here we are. Thank you, Jack. Thank you, Aggie, everybody, John. This is called Reply. I have been writing, but not able to send poems out. I lost my computer and had technological detours, code discord, discrepancies, and other ailments of this clouded planet. I blame the Russians. Presently, YouTube doesn't help. Tesla batteries are insufficient. Real hugs are missing. The mask might come off by the hiding continues. The spring is about to spring. Kisses not given will come to collect. Taxation has been delayed. The unthinkable has happened. Resilient workers, those employed by unemployment, those that know how to split wood and make arrangements for the coming winter, I welcome. But those that profited from such peculiar angst and the intrepids who took advantage, I don't forget. I miss my friends. I want to read poems to you in person, reciting with a voice only I possess, not the only voice, not the equal voice, but a unique voice, the one my singing father gave me, the one my mom reassured me. It had to be loud and clear if I wanted to be heard. Solentimane, solentiname, solentiname. Solentiname, tierra de milagros, de pájaros gigantes, orioles, cormorants, cardenales, even the magnificent frigate bird. Solentiname, solentiname, el pueblo artista y agrario, all the farmers artists. ¿Qué más? Todo de todos, toditos, solidarios. The dilemma, Somoza's firebrand, Sandino's dynamite. More birds in the lake, egrets, moths, purple-throated mountain gems, Molotovs. Who own these lands? The land, the islands, the water, the trees, the birds. So sacre bleu, mon Dieu, es la mon ami. It's not mon ami. God wills obedient dogs. Set it on fire, porca miseria, trees and all birds, laughing falcons and orange chin parakeets. March 15 was memoriam to Ernesto Cardenal.
Bravo, bravo. Bravo, bravo.
Thank you. Wow.
Next, another member of the Revolutionary Poets Brigade, Karen Malanda Megoon. Karen.
Thank you so much, Jack and Tuba and all of you wonderful poets. I'm going to read from one of my books, The Earth Turns, and this is called The Pledge of Peace. Monsters in the murk of time and thought, and shirking nothing to uncover our own ghosts of history, hiding in our conscience, too aware of genocide and pain, inflicted for no reason but our greed for property and power on land that never could belong to us. Yet we have trampled with our manifest visions of destiny. To interpret correctly could only mean destiny of life and rights for every color, every race, every idea, and every living thing. Yet we become marauders in the dust of what was never ours, nor anyone's, as land and forest, tree and glen can never be possessions save for all, belonging to themselves and to the seasons, fall and winter, spring and summer, flowers, fruits, and animals in equal portion to their needs, as even Eden exiled those that would not humble their own acts to laws of nature. Give the seeds their due, the apple's time, respect the synergy of beet and lime, of bipedal or quadrupedal
worm and bee, manage land so it might see the sunrise and the sunsets, as did natives born upon the land, and generations come before, bending in gratitude, abjuring war, that all might live in amity.
Bravo, bravo.
Here is this short little addendum stanza that explains a bit too. Could all humanity be cultivated with care, be given socks for warmth, lying barefoot under waiting trees, be gathered and be held, be fed and clothed, embraced in mutuality, as Shakespeare and Mozart would have all humanity mingle in equity, young, old, sweet, sour, all colors of the rainbow, all seasons of the peach or avocado. So must we cultivate each other, that we may harvest wisdom. Thank
Bravo,
you.
bravo, bravo. Bravo. Next, we'll hear from someone, a dear friend who lived in North Beach for many years and then went to Catalonia, where she struggles for the Catalan people. Angelina Younges. Please, Angelina.
Hello. Hello, Jack. I hope you hear
Hello,
me.
hello.
Okay. All right. Well, I want to read two short poems. One is the last poem that I wrote when I was in the United States. I wrote it on February 22nd, 2017, the day that the Sioux burned their own camp in Standing Rock before the army went inside the camp. And 2017 was a very special year because that was the year when I went back to Catalonia and we had our first October. So this is called, this I wrote in English. Standing Rock is burning, long live Standing Rock. It was published, by the way, by the Moon magazine, so thanks to these people. Burning pollution and dirt, lighting our memories of the love we gave and took, Standing Rock is a new galaxy in the sky of freedom. Treaty land stolen by the old companies turns into an eternal song of longing for the thunder of justice that drums us awake. We can now fast. The trees have bled their wisdom, and in these hours of mist and blizzard, every being in the animal kingdom and in the kingdom of other stars knows the perpetrators have lost their war, and the birds have shrieked a cry in their flight to issue the warning. The faceless emptiness of corporate uniforms filled with weapons and devoid of soul is the first offering to the fire. Standing Rock shines like a laser above the whole world, kindles numberless uprisings, and dances ritually on the clouds, its ancestral spirits bathing in the sun of clarity and promise. Life, in infinite flow, gives birth to its clear fountain of eternal youth, which quenches our thirst and is a token of victory for the coming revolutions.
Right. Bravo, bravo.
That I wrote for the book that you gave us. So it's a poem that I wrote in Catalan for 3 Kurdish musicians in Turkey that died of their hunger strike. I won't be talking about Catalonia, but just listening to the Catalan language, which was the language of the troubadours, and nowadays it is being insulted every day by the only people in Europe that where the Nazis were not vanquished, that actually won the war, and they are still in power. So just merely speaking it in Catalan is resistance, because our language is still resistance. Un cana iorum des de Catalunya. Aquest poema està dedicat als músics Helim Bolek, Mustafa Kozak i Ibrahim Gökçek, morta i morts en vaga de fam per les llibertats dels pobles de Turquia i del món. Germà músic, que a Turquia combats la bèstia autoritària, amb tu hi entès com n'és d'urgent que estem en guàrdia. T'has ofrenat del tot, cos i foc pel nostre alliberament. T'has buidat de sons, has regalat a l'espai el pensament i en deixar de respirar t'has transformat en element. Ets un alè intemporal i inapagable, poderós i fort i amable, gentil com el teu cor, un batec universal que se sap batre, espès com la teva sang que em crida de fonts perdudes a través de multituds errants, de deserts i voluntats tossudes. Aguantarem amb tendresa inextingible la teva mort tan dura. Travessaràs els vents de la Mediterrània i udolaràs crits de refugiats dolguts, revoltats en rais, que portaràs, mossegats abruptament per l'ira exacerbada de la onada que tot ho pot perquè s'ha cansat de ser força abnegada, cap a les platges per omplir-les de sal de plors de marada. Rebentaràs amb cada gram del cos que has deixat caure com una fruita madura i llesta pel gran àpat dels vençuts, els cercles de pors i presons amb què ens volen a tots perduts, els dictadors encarcarats que deturen el món i no deixen viure, i et faràs tro i mel, taronja i metralla, gas pebre, i la quitxalla desfarà alegre aquests monstres de sal mentre tothom balla. So if you want to hear it in English, which of course is not the same, but a song for Yoram from Catalonia. This poem is dedicated to the musicians Helim Bolek, Mustafa Kozak, and Ibrahim Gökçek, who have died of their hunger strike for the freedoms of the peoples of Turkey and the world. Musicians, sisters and brothers who in Turkey fight the authoritarian beast, with you I have understood how urgent it is to be on guard. You have offered yourself fully, body and fire, for our liberation. You have emptied yourselves of sounds. You have given away your thoughts to space. And as you stopped breathing, you transformed into the elements. Your timeless, unextinguishable breath, powerful, strong, and kind, gentle like your heart, a universal heartbeat that knows how to fight, thick like your blood that calls me from lost fountains, through roving crowds, deserts, and stubborn wills. We will hold with inextinguishable tenderness your death, so heavy. You will go through the Mediterranean winds and will howl screams of pained refugees revolted on their rafts, which you will bring abruptly beat by the exacerbated anger of the all-powerful wave that has become tired of being a self-denying force to the beaches, to fill them drenched with dry salt. You will burst with every gram of the body you have let fall, like a ripe fruit ready for the big feast of the vanquished, the circles of fear and prisons where they want us all lost, those stiff dictators that stop the world and do not let us live. And you will become thunder and honey, orange and shrapnel, pepper gas, and kids will undo gaily those monsters of salt while everyone dances.
Bravo. Bravo.
Thank you.
Angelina.
Thank you. I just want to say very briefly, please, if you have the time, tomorrow at 10 a.m. your time, but at 7 p.m. ours, in Facebook, there is an event, a page called A Suitcase of Poetry. It's organized from Ireland. There will be 15 poets from Ireland and other places. It's organized from Ireland, and I will be there reading. So if you can look at Facebook, it's everyone can look at it. It's just called A Suitcase of Poetry, and it's an event in Facebook, okay?
Hey, wonderful. Thank you, Angelina. Next, we'll hear from Everett Hoagland. He's on the East Coast of the United States. A wonderful poet. Everett, where are you? Everett? There you are.
You're muted, Everett.
You're muted,
All right,
Everett.
thank you.
Come
Can you
in.
hear me?
Yeah.
Can you hear me
yeah.
now?
Yes.
Okay, good.
yeah.
Jack, thanks for including me. I too dislike Zoom, but I'm very happy to be with such a radiantly relevant group of people. Two short poems. One is titled Two-Party Neoliberalism. I think that's explicit enough for the title. It's in memory of my revolutionary labor, social justice, and human rights activist friend, Jose Soler, who passed away last April.
Oh.
I think you knew him, Jack.
Yes, I did.
Every 4 or 8 years, it needs to seem changed. So the venomous, standing, right to center, left swaying, split tongue, lie spitting serpent that always aims at your vision gets down, rubs up against a jagged, skin-slitting truth about it, and slides out of itself, seemingly renewed, with glistening red, white, and blue beauty that always was, is, only on its scales. And the body of alluring abstractions, coiling, suffocating isms, it is, snakes into the future, until again, swollen from all it has swallowed whole, it is pressured from within to shed its stretched thin skin.
Bravo, bravo.
Second, even shorter, The Color of Hope, and it's for this occasion, for the World Poetry Movement. As much so as the color of all people's life essence beneath our skins, and more so than military cemeteries cut poppies and nationalist poetry's memorial row on row end rhyme lines for those killed in wars, red carnations have been, are, floral blood drops of the ever-living struggle, which as clearly as sweat and tears are clear, is hope in action.
Bravo, bravo.
Thank you.
Thank you, Everett.
Thank you.
Now, the penultimate reader today is someone I need to introduce. She is an Iranian poet who lives in London. She is the organizer of 2 Red Carnation events, one tomorrow, at which some readers today will actually also be reading tomorrow in the London. And there will be, I know, John Curl, Karen Miranda Magoon will be reading, and Michael War and Chun Yu will be reading tomorrow. And on Friday, myself and Agneta and Manas Badian will be reading. But she has worked very hard to bring 2 Red Carnation events to the people of London and other countries as well. So let's welcome Ziba Karbasi. Ziba.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. Thanks for everyone and for Jack to make this opportunity for us as well to be part of this movement. And for everyone who have got heart for poetry and for every poet that is under this movement and going with it. I would like to read one short poem that I translated myself. It's a rough translation, but it's from the mouth of poetry, is a word of poetry. So I will read it in two languages. And if there is time, there is one little bit longer poem, but I will read this first.
Yes, good, good.
به یک کرشمه که در آسمان کردی هنوز می پرد از شوق چشم کوکب ها. صائب تبریزی. روی نت خالی با انگشتان غم به الفبایی تازه گسار شدن. ای مرگ لال، مرگ خاموش، مرگ ناتوان، میر ناشی، فراموشی. با کدام صورت زخمی در چشم‌های خونین عشق نگاه می‌شوی؟ با کدام جربزه در کنام می‌کشی کنج استخوان درشتش؟ تاریکی تو همین به همین سطح سطر قد می‌دهد مگر از موسیقی جان عمیق‌تری؟ اینقدر هوا نسوزان، نفس تلف نکن. تو تنها یک شکم برای خوردن داری، من 1000 شکم برای زاییدن. Oh, you unable, disable, mute, poor death. You do the damn forgiveness. Are you deeper than soul's music? Did you really think that? Are you that dumb? Don't you burn all these air? Don't waste your breath. Don't waste your breath. You have only one stomach to eat. I have thousands of it to give birth. And if you have time, I will read one longer poem and Stephen will read the translation.
Okay, sure.
Is that okay?
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, this poem is about 5 Kurdish comrades that they've got killed by government about 8 years or 9 years ago. And I wrote this poem about them. امشب کردترین فرزادم از زادم از دادم از دست های من بر نمی آید دست در خبردار انگشت کهین و سباب از مشت بین این همه ازلا از 55 میلیون کردترین ماه یمانی این بوم این بام و خاک و در میلرزد دل، میلرزد لبان خشک، میلرزد سرب سینه فشنگ، میلرزد رنگ به چهره نداری، مادر و خواهر نداری، خانه برای وثیقه، دوست برای خالی کردن زیر پایت، ماش جیب، آستین، آستر، حتی کفن برای کفن و دفن، وطن که هیچ، حتی نداری، تا نداری. دو چشم پنجره دل واپس، چلچراغ و اجاق گرم پشت همه پنجره ها میدانند دل واپس ایوانی. دیوانی که زیر برف خوابید و دیوانه شد. سفره‌ای که زیر برف نشست تا خالی نماند، زنی که زیر برف موهایش را شانه زد، شعری که بی امان بارید، برف رو سپید شد. تنهایی تاریک ناخن خوش، زخم باز زیر پیرهن جر خورده، تنها شاهد و والی عصر این میدان لنگی که دنبال اسب دوید و زیر گاری سبزی فروش آبگار رفت. مرگ در شرشر عرقش غرق می شود از شرمی، مگر اگر این مرگ اگر پا داشت در می رفت، اگر آدم بود سر داشت به دار و درخت می زد، یا مثل شاعری غریب از باهوهایش بالالایکا می ساخت و برهنه زیر برف می زد. بالالایکا بالالایکا لای 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 کاکا. Thank you.
Bravo, bravo.
And Stephen can follow the translation.
Yes, Stephen
Stephen
Watts.
Jack,
Stephen
I'll
Watts.
read the translation that Zeba and I made. The title of the poem is Divan Under Snow. Tonight I'm the Kurdist Fazad, from my birth's give and take to my hand's unraised height, from the erection of two fingers, the pinky and the fists first, between all the angels of 5 and 50 and 50,000 and 50 million, most to the most Kurdish 14th night's full moon of the earth's flesh and blood. The heart is shaking, dried lips are shaking, lead of the bullet's chest is shaking, the color no in your face is shaking. You have neither mother nor sister, nor a home to be bailed out into, nor a friend to kick away your gallows stand, not a trigger in your pocket's ripped out lining, not a shroud to be buried in, not a blood home, no way. You don't even have an even, you don't even have your own shadow, you don't, no, you don't have. Two windowed worry eyes, warmness of home fires and chandeliers behind all windows know very well that you're worried about the balcony, the divan that went sleeping beneath snows and became crazy, the table that sat down under the snow so as not to appear bare, the woman who white-combed her hair under such snows. Poetry poured so pure that the snow lost its white. The loneliness of black cracked fingernails, open wounds under ripped out shirts. The sole witness to the limping revolver butts that whiplash limbs on an old grocery cart and end up under a bung of limp greens. Death would drown in its own shy sweats. This death, if it had feet, would flee. If it was human and had a head, would bang its head on a tree. Or like a stranger poet from its forearm would fashion a balalaika and strum it naked under the snows. Balalaika, balalaika, balalala. Balalai, lie, lie, sleep now, little one, sleep now.
Bravo, 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 bravo,
Bravo.
bravo. Wonderful poem. Let me ask, is Greg Pond here today? I know he was on jury duty and he might. Is Greg here?
He is not. He is not here, Jack.
He's not here. Nor is Scott Bird. He was working today. Yes. Okay. Then I'll close the reading with the reading of the Red Carnation Arcane. 1. If it could be done in Portugal almost 50 years ago, the Red Carnation can stop the spread of fascism everywhere, today, tomorrow. So let's get that huge jail built for the 838 hate groups, clans, and Nazis, skins, and all those who have to learn hate is not free speech. And we have to see that they spend time away from the innocence of children they despise, the blacks who they've always terrorized, the Jews they've always lied about, the gays they've mocked. And now that the Red Carnations have exposed the traitors of the working class, the police, whose betrayal is rooted and resonating to those very Klansmen and Nazis, but now enlightened understanding has the cops jailing Klansmen and Nazis and beginning to deal with neighborhoods as if they were neighbors and didn't wear hoods. And hopefully they begin to think that perhaps they'd had it all wrong defending capitalists and begin seeing blacks as their working class brothers and sisters and children in a vivid family too. Look at that. With all the mongers of fascist hate in the jail where they belong, just look at that beat cop who's admiring Beulah May Dandridge's garden of red carnations in the Outer Mission. Why, she's even given him her watering can. And he's sprinkling the carnations with water from that sprinkler, on the side of which is written, American Ku Klux Klans, American Nazis, you're finished with murdering democracy at last. Let me just say to all the poets here who have read today, it was wonderful to hear you all and to hear the many languages. Because if anything that a Zoom can do, even while it makes us all zombies, as I say, one of the things that it really is able to do is to create an internationalization such as been very difficult otherwise to create. We can actually see one another in other countries. We can hear one another in other countries. And indeed, it's been a great pleasure to be with you all. Have a lovely evening.
Bravo, bravo.
Thank
Ciao,
you. It's
ciao.
the San Francisco family once again.
Sandra.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you very much.
Jack. Thank you, guys.
Ciao, Jack.
Everyone.
Thank you, poet.
Sara.
And,
Ciao, Aggie.
so much. And good night, London.
Thank you.
Go, go.
Thank you.
Hope to see you soon.
Good to see you all.
Grazie and thank you.
Yes, thanks.